At 31 years old, Tony Snell is living his dream. He's come a long way from growing up in South Central Los Angeles and has defied the odds again and again.
I could have easily joined in some gangs or did all negative things back then, but basketball just kept me on the straight and narrow and kept me on the path that I wanted to be in.
Let's talk about Tony Snell, former first-round pick of the Chicago Bulls who had played 9 seasons in the NBA. He last played for the New Orleans Pelicans in 2022. If you remember, he was in the C.J. McCollum trade.
Last year, Tony and his wife Ashley noticed their little boy Carter was starting to miss some developmental milestones.
By 18 months, he still wasn't talking. He was doing a lot of stimming, so it's like this kind of movement always has to have like 6 or 7 toys in his hands. Usually one is always a basketball. So the doctor was like, well, we need to get him tested for autism.
Snell would then get himself tested, and it started to all make sense.
I was always independent growing up, always been alone. I just couldn't connect with people in the personal side of things.
At the age of 31, Tony was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder.
Were you surprised?
I was not surprised because I always felt different. I was just relieved, like, oh, this is why I am the way I am. And it just made my whole life, everything about my life.
Now he is gunning for a return to the association, but with a long-term approach to his and his family's plans. Currently, he is with the Maine Celtics in the G League. In an article from Jake Fisher with Yahoo Sports, Snell is awaiting his call up to the NBA. The reason, if he signs for the remainder of the year, it would mark his 10th year of service for the Players Association's retiree benefits program. That additional season would make Snell eligible for the union's premium medical plan beyond his current single qualification, which would also cover his whole family, including his 2 sons, Carter, who we saw in the initial video, and Kenzo, ages 3 and 2, who were both diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Snell would also say, because the NBA player felt he couldn't relate to his family, that he was left to shoot baskets and play video games independently. As a matter of fact, it carried over to his NBA days. Former teammate Jimmy Butler hosted a barbecue, and Snell sat by himself. That was until his now wife Ashley wandered over to simply understand why a pro basketball player would possibly sit alone. And here's the thing. Once Carter went through the testing, and Tony Snell had a front row seat to it, he then had essentially a light go off in his head, like, I know what this is. I understand what this is. It was relatable as well. Once he was diagnosed, Snell would say, I always knew I was different from everybody else, just observing other kids, observing everyone around me, how they were interested in each other, and they just clicked. I couldn't find a way to click or relate. Basketball was honestly the only reason I had friends. WBZ, a CBS affiliate in Boston, would add, Snell is not simply asking for a handout. He's worked hard over the last 2 seasons in the G League to keep the door open for another opportunity in the pros, and he would gladly fill a veteran role at the end of someone's bench. This story also really picked up steam when Charles Barkley discussed it on Inside the NBA. He would say, the NBA has been great to all of us sitting here, and you guys are going to be playing basketball forever, making a gazillion dollars. I hope one of you guys sign Tony so his 2 autistic kids can get great medical care. I hope a team signs him for the rest of the season, because I don't know a lot about autism. I ain't going to say that, but man, I know it's got to be expensive to have 2 young kids with that. I'm hoping the NBA, we always talk about what a family we are. Let's sign that kid for the rest of the season. In addition, Kenny the Jet Smith, Barkley's co-host, along with Shaq and Nerdy Johnson on Inside, called on NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to make it happen for Snell. Former Phoenix Suns executive and ESPN man Amin Al-Hassan of Meadowlark Media, Dan Le Batard's company, would also share this perspective.
If you spend even a day on the active roster, you get a year of service, but it has to happen before this certain midpoint in the season, and that midpoint is tomorrow. But I've identified 4 teams that have an open roster spot for a 10-day contract. You got the Chicago Bulls, the Minnesota Timberwolves, The New Orleans Pelicans, the Sacramento Kings. I'm asking for just one moment. Can we be humans to help him? The amount of resources required to care for a child with autism, let alone 2 children with autism. Studies have shown that the earlier you identify and treat, the better a chance that the children have as close to normalcy as possible. This is an opportunity, I think, for someone to do the right thing.
Hard not to agree completely. In addition, he has played for various teams. There are some, and I understand, that front office executives would want to take a look at younger players, see what they have, not give up a roster spot. If it is something like this, your organization would be commended. And it is rather easy to do. As a Chicago Bulls fan, found this in my parents' house. As a Chicago Bulls fan, it would make me happy in a season that we all know is just meh. Some success here and there. Do Bulls fans think this team is championship caliber? Probably not. But would you really be sacrificing what these front offices think they would be sacrificing by not doing the right thing and helping out Tony Snell and his kids? If there are any stories that you would like to submit to us, if there are any stories we may have missed, I will throw up my socials, submit them to me. We really appreciate everybody watching too and their support, and we hope everyone has a great day.